Hi there, my name's Mike, and I had a quesadilla for breakfast today. Oh yeah, and I'm also a big fan of Risk of Rain. So naturally, I'm really excited for Risk of Rain 2, which is scheduled to come out really soon hopefully. And this has inspired me to throw together a little wish list of the things that I want to see either returning from the first game or be improved upon in the second one. Of course, these are all just my opinions, so feel free to agree or disagree with them in the comments below. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Last, but certainly not least, we have the music. Chris Christodoulou did a great job on the music in the first game. The songs in their own right are really fun to listen to, like outside of the game, but when you put them in the context of the game, they get 10 times better. Because music is one of those things that can either make or break a game, and luckily in the case of Risk of Rain, it definitely makes it. So I'm really excited that Chris is making the music for Risk of Rain 2. And from what I read on his post on the dev blogs, I know he's really passionate about the music, so I think we're in good hands for Risk of Rain 2. At number 4, we have something I think is really important, and that is the challenging enemies and the artifacts. So the thing I think that made me most interested in Risk of Rain in the first place was the fact that my friend and I could not beat it for like 6 hours. I'm not even sure if he beat it on our first sitting, but I do know that the drive to overcome the challenge was compelling enough to make us try over and over again. And when we finally did beat it, we felt a real feeling of success and adrenaline. We were hooked. When you combine all of that with all the different artifacts that you can add and all the different combinations that give the game a totally different feel to it depending on what you choose, and all the characters and all the items stacking possibilities, you end up with a game with a ton of replay value. Between both of us, we have about 400 hours on the game, and we still aren't tired of it yet. So I hope that Risk of Rain 2 carries the same spirit as the first one in this sense, because I think that's what makes it really special. Number 3. Rewarding skillful play and less reliance on RNG. Alright. This one might be a little bit controversial, so stick with me. Now, I am aware that the point of the game is to stack items and to get as overpowered as possible before the enemies do. But what happens when you play perfectly and get shitty items? You lose, end of story. Because regardless of how well you play, there's just nothing you can do when there's like 6 or 7 magma worms on the screen unless you have enough items. Now, maybe that's just what happens when you play on the hardest difficulty with all the artifacts turned on without command, so basically making the game as hard as possible. But even still, that turns into a game of chance and not a game of skill. You kinda just have to accept that you can't win every run, and maybe that's okay. But I think that if players were able to have a little more control over the outcome by being rewarded for skillful play, that would score a lot of points in my book. Keep in mind, I'm not suggesting to make the game easier, far from it. What I am suggesting though is to give us more high risk, high reward solutions. For example, imagine if you could parry an attack like in Dark Souls to avoid damage and then follow it up with a riposte. Or what if you were able to time your attacks perfectly to block incoming damage, and you could do that continuously until you miss. But the catch is that if you whiff a parry, or once you finally fail to block an attack, you'll be left open for massive counter damage, meaning that even one mistake will undo 100 perfect executions. So this would reward players for skillful play, and you wouldn't have to rely on the items as much. Maybe something like this could only be available on the glass artifact, which would further amplify the fact that you can't mess up or else you're gonna die. Getting pretty close to the end here, we have number 2, which is better networking. Risk of Rain Original was a lot of fun to play solo, but it was even better when you played with friends. Unfortunately though, connecting with friends was often really annoying because you had to do port forwarding or use Hamachi or something like that. And there was always usually some sort of issue with that, because even when you managed to connect to your friends successfully, there was lag and or desync between the host and the clients. Especially in the early stages when you're the most fragile and die instantly, that made for a really frustrating experience when you got lag killed by an enemy you couldn't even see. And that's why I'm really looking forward to the new P2P connection and matchmaking in Steam, just like the devs mentioned in their blog post here. That's right, no more Hamachi and no more port forwarding. This is a huge improvement over the original, and it's why it's number 2 on the list. And number 1 on the list is the thing that I am most hopeful for. That is more stability and less crashes. Risk of Rain is an amazing game, and that's why it's so frustrating when it crashes. Even after you learn which items to avoid and other little tricks to help prevent crashes, sometimes it would just crash anyways because there's too much going on. So I'm really glad that the devs are focusing on improving the quality and stability for Risk of Rain 2, even if that comes at the cost of not launching on other platforms. Even if the only thing they changed about the game was better stability, I would still buy it right away on launch. That said, I have high hopes for this game and I can't wait for it to be released. Well, those are my 5 cents, my top 5 cents actually, for what I want to see in Risk of Rain 2. The hype train has officially left the station, and I'm really excited for its launch. Let me know what you agreed with and disagreed with in the comments below, and thank you all for watching. Feel free to subscribe for more Risk of Rain 2 coverage in the future, or don't, whatever. But either way, have a great day. Peace.